Greetings, beloveds. This is Amy Caryn Johnson, the Earth Channel, with another message from Gaia. Today is report 7 of 9 in the Chakras in Human Design series. And today we're going to focus on the throat center, or throat chakra. And first I have a poem for you, inspired and about, this time, Gaia. Gaia is so much more than earth, more than soil. Her wonders range as only a living being can. Stone and geysers, mice and whales, storms that broil, cactus and redwoods, fire and ice, larks and toucans. Connecting with her gives us freedom, gives us wings, to explore the parts of ourselves that vary so much. To evolve to be more than static stone carvings, to allow for folly, otherwise known as human touch. So the throat center parallels quite directly with the throat chakra, and what sets it apart in human design is that it has the most number of gates of any center, 11 gates. There are others. I think the will center is the one, we talked about that one 4 weeks ago, that has the least number of gates. It only has 4. So 11 is a lot. And what it says to me is that the throat has so many different voices. And those voices can obviously vary based on which gates are activated, which channels are activated. And if you would like to see for yourself which channels and gates you have activated, you may run your chart at you can search for any free chart, human design chart generator of any kind. The one I often recommend is humandesignamerica.com/chart. So not only which gates and channels are activated, but whether those defined channels connect the throat to one or more motor centers. The 4 motor centers are the will center, the emotional center, sacral, and root. And they don't have to be connected directly with defined channels to the throat, but they can be connected through all different kinds of circuits. Versus those that are throats that are connected with defined channels to other centers, which are not motor centers, like the ajna, which we will talk about next week, the heart, which I spoke about 3 weeks ago, or the spleen, which I spoke about 2 weeks ago. The emotional center was last week. What came to me today as I was contemplating with Gaia what to share with you about this center, so many of us feel unheard. And yet we're so busy trying to be heard that we don't always listen that well. And not just to other people, but to Gaia herself. Gaia is speaking to us all the time, trying to give us support if only we can open ourselves to it and receive it. It came to me that the throat is not just about the audible human voice, but also connected to our hands, because our hands can be so expressive. Obviously sign language, but also so many different kinds of gestures are available to us through the hands, energy, and our hands can also listen through that sense of touch, whether it's touching something physically solid or touching something less tangible, less definable. So I wanted to share that part, and I also wanted to share that the differences when we have an open throat center versus a defined throat center. Mine is defined, and it is defined and connected to my emotional center. And so I have always felt the need to express my emotions, and before I even knew about human design, I have expressed my emotions with my hands sometimes as well as my voice. Those with an open throat center may feel stimulated around other people to talk a lot, to say a lot of different things, some of which may not necessarily be coming from them. They may be speaking that which someone else is not saying. So even if your throat center is defined and you are very certain that you have something that needs to be said, it's always a good idea to get quiet, get still, and look within to find out where and when that voice needs to be expressed. It doesn't always need to be expressed to someone necessarily. Maybe it's just to you. Maybe you need to hear yourself. And that can be done through journaling. That was another way that your hands can be expressive, is through writing. Or dance. You know, we can dance, we usually use our arms when we dance. That's another way they can be expressive. Or singing, toning. It doesn't even have to be words necessarily. Words can so often fail us. Words point to something and give us at least a chance to give an indication of what we want to express, what we want to talk about, or how we want to respond to someone else. And yet, they can never fully capture the exact things that we are trying to say. Those things exist outside of those words and can't be necessarily corralled by them. It's nice to pay attention to the gates that are in that throat center. They can tell us so much. And I spent a little time this morning reading the I Ching and listening and, absorbing those lessons. The I Ching is so tied to nature and the different lessons that Mother Nature has for us, and shows us the rhythms and the diversity of ways that we might need to be in the world, ways that we might need to express in the world, and the ways that we might need to listen and just get in tune for a moment. Following the cycles of nature, following the cycles of the cosmos. So we should always try to ground those thoughts and urges into Gaia before moving forward. There's the difference between, being codependent and feeling oppressed and not being allowed to have a voice, versus going to the other extreme and being a bully. And, I was always taught, of course, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. I certainly was not perfect in following that, but, I've also been somewhat oppressed, as much as I've made mistakes in what I've said, I have also failed to say things that I really needed to say for myself. I can feel some of that stuff coming up through my throat chakra right now. Some of those memories, some of those lessons. All right, so let's see what Gaia has for us in our meditation. A few deep breaths. And feel the sun coming down through your crown, down through your body, down through your legs, and feel yourself connecting to Mother Earth through your roots. And then feel her energy coming back up through your roots, legs, body, and pausing at your throat center. Gaia wants me to remind you, or tell you if you haven't heard before, that you can access all the different expressions of your throat center, of the throat center, from her. It doesn't matter what your chart looks like necessarily. That shows you your foundation, but you can build from there. But you must first listen. Listen to what lessons nature has for us. Lessons of surrendering to flow, allowing the flow of the cycles of the seasons to carry us, to inspire us. It doesn't have to be so hard. We don't have to yell to be heard. Once we go within, that's where we find strength. It doesn't have to look like outer force. Once we cultivate that inner strength, like that of a big, beautiful tree, we can weather any storm. So let's just pull back any tendrils, any words spoken in the flurry of the moment. Maybe we regret them, maybe not, but maybe they were just meaningless, or maybe they were even hurtful. Pull those back in, and let's cleanse that voice with the love of forgiveness. Forgiving ourselves, forgiving others, and promising to ourselves that we will always listen to ourselves. We will always be the first there to hear what needs to be said from ourselves. And then let's feel that center expand in that love, that strength that is always instantaneously replenished, that requires no force, no straining, no struggle. And sending out that love and forgiveness to anyone out there who may need it. And feeling the freedom that comes from offering that forgiveness, accepting that healing in our throats, letting go of any discomfort or stickiness that was stuck there before. Just letting it flow up, down, all around, not only our throat centers, but all our whole bodies. Thank you so much for joining me. Namaste, beloveds. If you liked this message, give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to be notified when the new weekly message comes out, subscribe and hit the bell button. You can also find me on Facebook at my page, Amy Caryn Johnson Earth Channel, or my group, Earth Tree Sun. And if you'd like these messages emailed to you for free on Wednesdays, you can sign up at amycarynjohnson.com. Thank you.